Hey, welcome back, everybody. Tremendous opportunity today that we have to sit with Scott Blostein. So Scott is a 10 years in SaaS professional, Salesforce, Shopify, Oracle, ClickUp, like you name it, like the who's who. And now he's about a year and a half into his business, helping people find jobs in SaaS. I thought he'd be a phenomenal person for us to talk to. Scott, how are you, man?
I'm doing great, Dave. Thanks for having me on the show. How are you doing?
Good, good. I was going to make like my opening piece was like, oh, you're up in Canada. You're my second person from Canada. We're all set. And all of a sudden you hit me up with, hey, Dave, I'm hanging out in Mexico for the past month and a half. So you
Yes.
kind of took away my, piece. But my first person calling in from Mexico, so you do have that, kind of distinction, man. So
There we go. To make you international really quickly, but
make me outside.
yeah,
So I
no,
haven't had many
it's
from EU yet, but I'm gonna get there. So let's dive right in, man. So 10 years of SaaS of really like who's who, right? And SMB and enterprise, and you've been throughout, and then you take it off and you start your own. And I guess let me just start there. What made you kind of go off and say, hey man, I want to do my own business here?
yeah, no, it's a great question. So before I guess like all this the SaaS came around, like my degree in university was a major in entrepreneurship. So I've
Okay.
always had like that entrepreneurial mindset to me. And like in my early 20s, I was always trying to figure out like, hey, like what was my path? And then eventually landed in sales. And what I really liked about sales, and especially working for some of those bigger companies, is you really had to treat like you had to be the CEO of your own territory. And there's a lot of like entrepreneurial things that I learned from that. And the more that I was kind of going through the process, and especially working at companies like Shopify that like really hammered down on like a lot of their employees being entrepreneurs as well, I knew that like sales was a great way for me to like get a lot of great foundation to my career. But ultimately, at the end of the day, like was really wanting to eventually run my own business, and that's kind of led me to start down this path right now.
Man, that's awesome. That's awesome. So now, I mean, so that I'm clear and everybody else is too, I'm not even going to try and define it. Why don't you just, define for us a little bit of what you do in terms of Uptra careers, if I'm getting that correct, right? In
Yep.
terms of pronunciation. What do what's that whole model and, how do you help people with that?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So before I got into tech, like I felt really stuck in my career, and I knew that like, hey, I didn't really have like the status that a lot of my friends were having in different roles. And I've seen it done time and time again where people just feel stuck working for some like rinky-dink company or not really have like feeling proud of going into work every day. I've been fortunate enough to have a career where I've been able to break into some of the biggest companies on the planet. And really what the program is all about is helping people elevate themselves. Like Uptra is coming upwards in trajectory, combining them
Nice.
the two together, where they can really go into work, feel proud. So I will coach people all from different walks of life, everyone who's either looking to break into tech, and we'll work on getting them into an SDR role where they can like learn transferable skills that they can go. We'll do it from everything from like the beginning, like how are we going to rebrand ourselves, tell a really good story, and then also like work through those mock cold calls, those discovery calls. On the other side of the fence, like my perfect clients are people that already have sales experience, and then they want to work for some of those bigger companies. So I've been able to place a lot of my clients, or I should say, coach them into getting interviews at places like Salesforce, HubSpot, Airtable, just going through like a lot of the same methods that I use to get into those companies as well. So yeah, super rewarding. Like I actually just got a call with a client half an hour ago. He just got an offer from a company called StackAdapt as an SMBA, but he's also still in the interview process of HubSpot and Salesforce. So yeah, it's definitely working, which is great to see.
It's awesome, man. Like your LinkedIn headline, and I have it here, and I'm going to turn my head to read it. I help SaaS sales pros land 125K roles and break out of career stagnation, which you mentioned, without relying on recruiters or luck, right? Like for anybody listening, if you want to have a LinkedIn headline that tells you exactly what you do, that's it right there, right? I mean, like, now you mentioned 125K roles. Is that OTE? Is that like 60 and 60 kind of thing? Or is that, 120 base? Or how do you view that?
Honestly, the number is probably a little bit higher depending on like the segment that you come in. Like, I feel like if you're like, look, if you're like a BDR, you're probably going to be like on the lower end of that, where
Yeah,
you're probably looking at close to like 100K.
Yeah.
most SMB roles, you're probably in that market of around like 125. Majority of the people I work with though are getting more into the mid-market space where someone landed earlier this week at this security company called Island and he made 170 and I've helped
Nice.
people land all the way up to 350K
That's awesome.
OTE. So yeah,
Love it.
everyone comes from a different walk of life. But yeah, I might have to start moving that barometer up. So far right now, I've secured close to $3 million in OTE from all my clients.
3 million.
Yeah.
For how long was that? Over what kind of time
Uh,
frame?
9 months I've been like officially doing this. Actually, no, sorry, it's closer to 12 now. It's April 1st.
Amazing. That's
Yeah.
amazing. And so just kind of, and again, like I said before we came on, I have these notes and then I hear something and then I get a thought in my head and want to go with this. So this is one of those times when you get somebody new and let's say they're, the junior piece, right? Let's say they're a new SDR and they want to make the move to AE, not quite sure how to do it, where they're at, they can't do it. Or you have someone kind of break into tech. Is there a commonality to that, like where you see, hey, this is where most people struggle. This is what I have to break a habit of or teach them something new. Is there something that is very common among your, let's call it your, SDR, roles or junior AE roles that you see?
Yeah, like I think the big differentiator here is you can't have like traditional application methods in order to get a job. If you want to use a job, you have to treat the job hunt like it's a sales cycle. So like what we'll teach a lot of people to do is like, and as you alluded to in my headline of like not
Mm-hmm.
relying on like recruiters or luck, is finding ways that like we can tell a really good story that we can take that straight to the hiring manager, not the recruiter. So this is usually done by like, hey, let's figure out like those transferable skills that can like help sell you and brand you. So we'll find like, even if you're not coming from sales, like what are some KPIs that we can at least measure you based off of, and we can talk through that and present yourself in the best light. For example, like one of my clients, Will. This is probably one of my favorite stories in terms of this, but I'm very, very big on personalization. And Will's a music teacher, and he's currently still trying to be like an SDR. Anyways, he was interviewing at or wanted to interview at Deal and
Mm-hmm.
realized that the hiring manager that he was going after used to work at the winery that sells some of the wines in his restaurant that he's in right now.
Mm-hmm.
So we reached out to her, and the messaging that we came up with was just like, "Hey, Sabrina, have just noticed you used to work at this winery. It's the best wine. It's the top seller at my restaurant. Who knows if it really was, but hey, we'll use some dramatic flair here. It's just like, have you been to this restaurant? I work here in the city. By the way, saw in your about section on LinkedIn that you love mentoring the newest like up and coming like SDRs in the place. Would love like 15 minutes to chat." And her response back was like, "Fantastic prospecting effort. Like, yes, let's definitely chat. Here's like a link to like get into like the interview process with us." So it really
Love it.
comes down to like that level of personalization, but also like having that hunter mentality as well.
It's awesome. And I think that's for you who's been doing it for 10, 15, over a decade, but just put it there. To you, that automatically comes and you go, yeah, that's it. To somebody else who hasn't done that as much, right? That's kind of, that mode right there can be what it takes to get into into the role, right? Um, you mentioned like, or not you mentioned, but you put on, looking on LinkedIn, it says, if I remember correctly, it says founder and head coach, right? And very easy to put CEO or president or founder, whatever, but you put founder and head coach. Why'd you select those titles, man?
Um, I feel like I don't really I'm still in the solopreneur mode, so like I felt like founder felt more important. Like I actually am going to be growing my team over the next 2 months just because like of the success that we've had and like the program is like scaling quite a bit, which is exciting. Um, in terms of coach, like look, I'm a coach at heart at the end of the day. Like I love playing sports. I'm a big athlete. Uh, and like I think like that's like really I've used coaches in all aspects of my life, whether it be for like life coaches or professional coaches, or even like there was one point where I've used like an interview coach as well. So it's something that I've personally always resonated with. So yeah, I think there's also like a good distinction between like a coach and a mentor. Like a coach to me is someone who's like, hey, great way to like actually just like ever start a business is like find out where you were 10 years ago. And if you can solve that problem to where you are now, great piece. So that was kind of one of the ways that like I looked at it. And yeah, it's resonated well. Actually, everyone on my Slack channel calls me Coach Scott. So I guess it's stuck.
I saw that actually. Like everything was, you put up testimonials of like, or snippets of everybody. Hey man, I just got the interview. I went in, I had no experience. I think it was like a 200, K, OTE or something, phenomenal. I mean, from a standpoint of you said I was going to go to this at the end, but I can't wait. So you said you're an athlete. I saw boxing photos on there. Is that of
Yeah.
you boxing on there, man? Is that something you've taken up here recently?
It's not even taken up recently. So back in my city, Ottawa, one of the city's biggest charity events was called Fight for the Cure. So every year they have about 90 to 100 people try out for it, and they select 12 people who've never boxed before in their life. And then I was one of the lucky individuals that got selected last year. They train you for 8 months to fight, and then from that I got they actually also had like a documentary crew like follow us around, which was pretty cool. And then you have to fight in front of 3,000 people. Also, it's all raising money for the Ottawa Cancer Foundation. So I personally raised $40,000, and the whole event itself raised just over $1 million. So yeah, no, it was an awesome experience. But yeah, I'm done with my boxing career right now. My mother's happy about it.
You hang up the gloves, man.
Oh
I
yeah,
mean, that's
no,
autograph them somewhere, put them up on the wall, and call it done. So that's all. I couldn't wait. You said athlete, I was like, that's it. I can't wait. I got to go. So when you look at this though, and you open your business, and you said, okay, I'm coaching people. Did you ever think of doing it like the full recruiter mode, where you're actually going to the companies and saying, hey, I can find some folks, or does that take away from your, you know, just being a neutral party with the person and coaching them, throughout?
yeah, and like I get that question like quite a bit. Like I think at the end of the day, like recruiters work for the company. I don't know if it's just me positioning myself as like a man of the people, but I think like look like I think like a lot of people want to know that there's like some in their corner with them as well. Like even through like look the process itself is like laden with rejection. It just happens, and like even just like having conversations with people like bounce back conversations, like me being their personal like hype man throughout the process definitely goes a long way as well. I think like in the future, like don't hold me to this. My like vision of this is like because there's a lot of training that goes in these programs. So like I was fortunate enough to like get like Sandler sales training in a lot of the places that I went to. You're learning a lot of sales skills that you're having like right now. So like my pitch to a lot of like I'll even go out to recruiters and be like, hey, is there any openings that you have? Not only are these candidates coachable because they're seeking coaching, but also on top of that, they're also getting world class sales training, which I'm passing down to them also. So yeah, we'll see what the future holds, but that definitely could be a thing.
100%. I mean, it just naturally comes to my mind. Obviously, you get that question. You get that question a lot. Um, Let me take this a little bit to you personal, right? And in terms of what you posted, 'cause I was going back, I'm scrolling through. I think scrolling through, anybody who's heard this show more than one time has always heard me say I can learn a lot by going back through your posts and just kind of seeing what's on your mind and seeing the flow. You have one post that said, "Hey, I'm 38, and here are some things you may or may not know," right? And one stood out to me, and you said, "Even though I'm crushing it at times, or a lot of times, I still have imposter syndrome," which is very, a lot of people flirt with it and say it and stuff like that. You came out and said, yeah, man, I mean, it's real, or I have it, and, at times, can you talk on that a little bit?
Yeah, look, I mean, like it's one of those things that like as someone who's always like very ambitious, like you are where you are now, but also like where you want to be. What I've like learned throughout this is obviously, and like as cliche as it sounds, like comparison is the thief of joy. So like try not to obviously get yourself like too hung up on that. Also, like I do have like everyone else like those moments of insecurity sometimes, where like especially like when you're trying to scale the business, you're like, oh man, I've never actually done this before. So like some of the times, like you're kind of like running around with your head cut off. Look, what I've learned throughout this whole process though is like, look, there's always going to be stress. You're always going to have like those low like level of insecurities, and like you're like whether it's going to be like growing the business, the stagnation of a business, the decline of the business, like that's always going to be happening there as well. So I think it's just important to like acknowledge it, but like also realize that like you're not the only one going through this, and that eventually like you're at this place for a reason. So just having that confidence to get through it there as well. So yeah, it's like something that like I'm more, I guess, cognizant of overall. But yeah, no, yeah, it's been a journey for sure.
Yeah, I mean, look, I thought the whole post and people who go connect with you. I don't think it's that far back, a couple of months. I thought it was great, right? And in fact, from me personally, I would encourage you to just redo it. I said because I thought it was telling, and I had to laugh at the one that said, "Hey, after 10 p.m., I don't really want to, that's I don't really want to hang. If you know, you know." I'm like, "Yeah, I know." I'm like, that's me. Like, yeah, if I'm out with my wife, I'm like, "Yo," I'm like, we're at the party. I'm like, "Hey, let's bounce, right?" But there was a lot on there that really hit with me, in terms of not the norm. This is what I'm up to. This is pretty transparent in terms of how I'm feeling, right? So I thought it was a really good snapshot of a whole lot about you, man. So I thought it was really cool.
That, I think it's important, like on LinkedIn, obviously, like look, you want to actually show like you're a human as well. So I think like that just goes like a long way, and like yeah, so like that's like the way you can like humanize anything itself, and like I know there's also like a lot of other people that like are maybe sometimes like a little bit more nervous to be as more vulnerable. So yeah, well, obviously if I can like help anyone in that asset, it makes a ton of sense. But yeah, no, I was actually kind of shocked like how well it took off, but here we are.
Look, I mean, I think anytime that you share who the hell you are, I'm not you, but like you as the person hitting the post button. I try, post. I've been a little bit off here recently, like once a day. I'll try, and I'm not a person who blocks my post. I'm not a person who like, writes it in advance. I've always found that I write on what's on my mind that day and it comes to me and I go. Right, wrong, and different. A lot of people are really successful on here who write all their stuff on Sunday, and
Yeah,
then schedule.
I can't do that. Like it's like I'll have like I get the most insane writer's block if I'm ever just like, yeah, like I'm just gonna sit down and write. Like, yeah,
Yep.
it's a recipe for disaster. I will
Yep.
literally be like walking into the shower or going on a walk or
Yep.
like making
Yep.
something in the kitchen. You're just like, oh yeah, that's a great idea.
100%. I'm the same way, and I started doing videos more, which leads me to, or videos for LinkedIn, right? So for that leads me actually to kind of skip around a little bit, but back to the candidates and stuff in terms of the interviews. Do you connect with a hiring manager, and then do you recommend them doing like videos to show their personality to really stand out, to like videos to all the rage on LinkedIn. You have to stand out in this market. A lot of people are being cautious. Like there's a whole lot of cautious right now in the market. Do you encourage that? Do you talk to people on it? Like, do they bring it up to you? How do you approach that?
I feel like the video is suited like best suited for like some people, and like there's other mediums that are like suited for other individuals. Really like look plays to like the strength, because like some people just don't like feel like natural on
Yeah,
camera, and if like that's completely fine. So like what
yeah,
we typically do is when someone signs up with me from a rebranding process, we'll actually build you a personalized pitch deck that you bring
really.
into your meetings. Yeah, so it's everything from like who's the customers that you've sold to, personal case studies of like ways that you've been uniquely positioned to like solve a certain challenge within the sales cycle.
Yeah,
Why you would like, we'll take a sample job description and be like, oh yeah, like hunter mentality, and try and mirror it that way. Another like cool thing as well is like using something like Aligned, that you can build like your own like digital sales room, except to building it like your digital portfolio, where you're showing a very similar story as well. So what we coach our reps to do is like either two things. One, send that across in like the first email or within like your first meeting with the hiring manager, just being like, hey, look, I know you're going to ask me about myself anyways. Like, do you mind if I just like walk you through a quick presentation? And then that way you can like take the first 5 minutes, own the conversation, and then like also like get them thinking about like the actual process of like who you are. And it's unique. Like it will definitely
yeah.
stand out. It's way more memorable than just the normal interviews that hiring managers usually get.
Well, right. Like I mean, if you put me in front of somebody right now and said, "All right, Dave, how would you coach somebody?" I would go, "Well, you're telling me about yourself, as I coached it, you're right or wrong, would take me from like graduating high school, what'd you do in college, show me that work ethic, show me some traits that carry through
Yeah,
and keep it 2 minutes, and then take me to the seat you're sitting in now and keep it at 2 minutes or less, right? Don't bore me, just keep it there." I'm sure everybody's doing that. That's not like some novel way of doing it, right? But
Yeah.
I have heard of people. I've never had anybody pitch me that way as a hiring manager, and I do hire now for AEs. Um, but I look at that and I think about it and I go, okay, it proves to me they know themselves in a way that's a little bit more than just 2 minutes. You can use technology, you do a good presentation, right? It's showing me a lot more than just a 2 minute rehearsed, kind of speech. So that's interesting. I mean, real positive feedback I mentioned then, from your candidates on how that's received, huh?
Oh yeah, no, definitely. I mean, like, look, it's like something that they've tried. Like, look, normally, like, what I will have to like paraphrase people with is like right off the front, like, look, we do things differently here.
Yeah,
Where like a lot
yeah,
of people come in, like, I'm applying to so many jobs, I'm not seeing any results. I was just like, okay, well, the first problem is you're applying. So like, first, like, let's like that. We're going to change that, and then we're also going to like change a lot of the different ways. Like, there's out like it's crazy. Like Riley, who just graduated from my program last week. Like he
yep.
reached out to a hiring manager on LinkedIn. There was no job board, no posting, anything like that. Got a call back an hour later saying like, "Hey, can you come for an in-person interview tomorrow?" Six
Wow.
days later, got a job. So like that's the sort of stuff that like we're trying to find ways that are a lot different than what a lot of people are might just be doing, and like showing that like, yeah, going back to what I was talking about earlier, being like, got to do the job to get the job.
Yeah, you posted something on LinkedIn I thought was it was funny but so damn true. It said, and if I get it wrong, you can dial me in a little bit, but I think it said easy to apply, easy to say no, or something of that nature, right? So
Easy to reject.
that's it, easy to reject, right? And I mean, I don't even know what the ratio is out there for number of applications you have to submit in and all that, but what I mean, you just said not a sales cycle, interview cycle of a couple days or a week or something like that. Do you have a percentage on like what you see as like? I mean, the norm is obviously published somewhere. I'd imagine it's 4 to 6 weeks, I guess, on a normal interview cycle. Do you see your guys just in condensing it, or are they getting more interviews and better quality interviews with better companies?
Um, it's kind of all over the map. Like I would say, like if companies want to move quick on talent, they definitely can. Like someone, Jason, who just got a role today, he was been talking to this company for like 2 or 3 weeks, and he just got an offer. Riley was obviously like 6, but like yeah, it kind of really all depends. I found like more like the beginning can be actually a little bit slower in terms of like getting like the right people in the room. I've also seen it like stall out sometimes when it comes to like that final discovery call where they'll want to have like more of a panel style interviews, coordinating that. But I'd say like on average, like yeah, you're looking at under a month
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah,
I've,
yeah.
I've seen some companies take a little bit longer sometimes if it's like a more senior position, but I'd say like yeah, the norm I would definitely say is like under a month.
Got you, got you. So from someone who's done recruiting before to someone who's coaching people now, I really want to get this answer from you. And there's no right answer, right? This is just kind of how people view it. But I'm curious on how you do it. The candidate gets an offer, they're still in play, they're still in play with 2 other companies. How do we do it now? Are we accepting and still interviewing because we never know if that offer is going to get pulled? Are we saying, hey, other companies, I'm good, I got it, I'm in, and I'm all in with that company? How do you how do you do it?
It's funny. I was just on a call earlier today that just had this exact topic, so it's almost like you were listening. So
I was not, but this is one of those ones on interviewing where everybody has their answers.
no, definitely. Like, I think you keep on interviewing.
Yeah,
The sole reason is like, look, at the end of the day, companies are quick to lay off, and they don't really like owe you anything at the end of the day. And like, I think that like, yeah, you should definitely like keep on doing it at least until like you're in your seat.
yeah,
Per se, and that way at least like personally from like you're safe. Like at the end of the day, like you are the most important person in this process. So yeah, any way that you can like help protect yourself. Like I have seen it where companies have pulled offers even after like a company or someone has like given their 2 weeks notice at a company, and like you just don't want to be in like that situation. So yeah, like, look, the reality is like something bad happening is like probably less than 1%, but like obviously it just really depends on like what your risk tolerance is at the end of the day.
Yeah. No, you know what's funny is that I'm sure growing up as the recruiter, I was that guy saying, okay, we're turning everything off. We're done. You're in. Let's go. And you're right. I mean, and your piece up front is, what you said way back. Does that outside recruiter work for that company? 1,000%. Right.
Yeah.
That's who pays the invoice. Right now, if you do wrong by your candidates, you'll get a horrible name in the market, and you'll never work with anybody. So there's that element of that as well. But you're right. I mean, that outside recruiter is working for that company number one and the candidate number two. That's what makes you different, which is kind of cool, right? You're in that, hey, look, I am a safe space and I'll coach you for all these. And I don't, as long as you get somewhere, that's my ultimate goal. So I think that, really what makes you different and you have this niche and experience level that I'm sure I'm now looking forward. And I know you and I are, freshly connected, right? In terms of that, I'm really looking forward to seeing you grow this because I
Thank you.
think, the tech industry is going to go, right? I think it went through a little bit of this, recalibration the last couple of years. I'm in it. I think it's going to go. And I think for folks like yourself who have given them Sandler experience and training, a different perspective on how they interview, teaching folks how to hunt in a different way. Even folks like myself who've been around can learn some different ways right. And been around is a way for saying I'm old, and and go in. I think you have something here that is just going to catch on more and more. So I'm excited to see how you grow this and kind of what it comes into and everything else, man. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun watching this, a little bit and seeing how this plays out. And I'm sure you have some ideas, but it's, who knows where it takes you. But I think it's going to be interesting to see. So
Yeah, hey, appreciate the kind words. It's been a fun journey so far. Like, don't regret leaving the corporate world for it. Yeah, no, definitely excited to see where it goes, and yeah, really appreciate like opportunities just to even have conversations like this
oh
with
yeah.
people like yourself, Dave, and like also get some wheels turning.
Oh look, I mean, I think that for folks listening to this, and I get a DM once every week and a half. Hey, how do I break in? Or are you guys and what's going on? And all it's basically, hey, look, how do I get in? I was talking to somebody on it was a customer service call, and I was talking to him, and we were on the phone for a long time. I'm not going to say the company just because you know where I'm going. I got to the end and I said, hey, I don't know if you're interested in tech or not. I said, but I would put you on the phone to be an SDR right now. Right? He was that good. And I said, if you can cold call, I said, I'm telling you right now, your people skills, your questions, how you presented objection, how you overcame objections with me, spot on. I said, I'll put you on right now. Like I know talent. And he was like, yeah, I can't break in. Right. And like it sucks, but I know what's out there. Right. It's hard to get your foot in the door. It's hard to get your foot into the industry. And the more good work you do, the more that stuff you post on LinkedIn with the folks that say, "Oh my God, Scott, Coach Scott, I just got this." Dude, that's so cool to say. That's so cool to say, man.
Nice.
So,
Well,
well, good for
got a
you,
couple
man.
more.
Congrats. Congrats on the company. Congrats on kind of what you're doing. It's obviously you're excited about it, passionate about it, and it gives you freedom to hang out in Mexico a little bit and still work, but
Oh
still,
yeah.
enjoy a little bit as well. Any good golf down there, man? Any snorkeling, scuba? What's your post work activity down there?
I'm actually a big tennis guy, so there's a tennis court right across for private lessons for very very affordable. So yeah, I've been doing that a few times a week, and yeah, I'm just trying to get as much sunshine as possible because it was a pretty brutal winter up in Canada before I left.
You got to go back, man. Like, I mean, you don't have to, I guess, but I
Yeah,
mean,
but by the time I go back, golf season will be starting off. So that's when I can definitely start hitting the links more. I'm an avid golfer. Previous company to this was I was actually designing funky golf apparel that we were selling. But that obviously, yeah, advice I'd have for everyone is the apparel business is a disaster to get into. Uh, Yeah, no, I love golf and yeah, love hanging out with the boys on the golf course on the hot weekend day.
Dude, that's awesome, man. Well, look, thank you so much. I know we did this and like a little bit of, I don't want to say a whim, but as soon as I saw what you were doing, I was like, look, we got to talk. I'm so glad we did. Thank you for it. I can't say thank you enough. We'll have you back. I really want to run this back when you've grown this thing out and kind of talk on the challenges of entrepreneurship and the growth and, kind of what you've seen. I think that's all to come. But, Scott, thank you again for joining us. And or I know, people got some good advice. Where can they find you? What's the best way to contact you if people want to break into SaaS, a little bit?
Yeah, no, for sure. So right now, I'd say LinkedIn is the best bet. So just hit me up, Scott Blostein at LinkedIn. That's the easiest way to get a hold of me. Website's currently getting like restructured a little bit, but yeah. So I'd say LinkedIn is the best way to get a hold of me for right now.
Awesome. All right, folks, there you go. Right about 30 minutes. Hope you got something out of it. Hit Scott up, right? Hit Scott up to get into that coaching. The deals, scroll through his LinkedIn page. You're going to see success stories that are really like mind blowing. So it's eye opening. All right, everybody, be good, be safe. We'll see you next week. Have a great day. Take care.